Hi, my name's Maddie. I know most of you have met me before, but I'm just here today to do some short video clips about reading skills at each of the stages of primary. Lots of the schools I work with, obviously in lockdown, they haven't got full access to all the materials and the training, so I'm just doing a quick review on some of the strategies that I promote for reading for meaning. So the first one I wanted to start with was the Key Stage 1. One of the big factors of Key Stage 1 is, are they really reading or are they reading? And we've all experienced children who are decoders but not necessarily comprehenders. Those children may or may not have come out of year 1 or early years with an expected reading standard because they can decode, but having the whole comprehension is throwing so much more into the mix. So I just wanted to talk you through one of the strategies that I promote on training. There are loads of other strategies out there that lots of other consultants or groups of businesses are putting out there for comprehension, but I just wanted to share some of my resources related to CLIMB. I know lots of people are familiar with the content domains. I'm just going to jot them down in case we've got any newer people watching the video clips. So at Key Stage 1 we've got 5 content domains, and each of them representing a different skill for reading. None of them representing decoding. All of them come under the comprehension umbrella. So we've got 1A, which is vocabulary, and it's being able to identify and explain a word. And we've got 1B, which is retrieval, sometimes seen as an obvious skill, but I think the Key Stage 1 stats have shown that sometimes those retrieval questions can be hard. We've got the 1C questions, which is sequencing. I'm going to come back to that one in a minute. I'm just going to put a little circle around 1C for a moment. 1D, which is inference. We know a lot of children really struggle with inference. And 1E, which is prediction. So I think what we would say is that children in Key Stage 1 are really good at predicting. They tend to want mermaids, unicorns, dinosaurs in every single story, whether it's appropriate or relevant. And there lies the problem for prediction, in that sometimes our youngest readers don't necessarily use what they've already read to form the prediction. They just use what they want. So prediction skills can be hard to assess for that very reason. We don't often see prediction skills in a Key Stage 1 reading paper because they're very difficult to mark. The other one that we don't often see is 1C. So we do see some questions that ask the children to number the events 1 to 4 in paper 1 for Key Stage 1, and number the events 1 to 5 in Key Stage 1 paper 2. However, sequencing doesn't really rear its head as a skill that is promoted or assessed with a dominant proportion in the Key Stage 1 SATs. But a few years ago, a friend of mine asked me to write an article about reading, and I went down the route of 1C and 2C for Key Stage 2, being the lost content domains, meaning that because they don't feature as nuts and bolts, priority, they're not taking up 20 or 30% of the reading paper, then perhaps they're not as important to teach. What I'm saying, and what lots of other people are saying, that if a child can't explain what they've read, 1C sequence, 2C summary, if they can't explain what they've just had read to them or what they've just read, then they can't go on to do inference. And sometimes the higher end retrieval questions are difficult. And we've all experienced those children who read and read and read, and then you ask them one question about what they've read, and unfortunately they haven't got the answer there to give, but they've been a brilliant decoder, showed stamina, had a lot of fluency, but can't answer any questions. And equally, we've got those other children, if we looked at the simple view of reading, those children who are good comprehenders and poor decoders. We've all worked with those children who can comprehend if we're reading for them, but if they're reading on their own, they can't. And that is a very frustrating bracket to be in if you are a high comprehender verbally in class, and then when you're on your own, you can't decode your own text. So I put together something called CLIMB. I know lots of people have worked with CLIMB before. I'm gonna upload some of these to the YouTube channel if I can, so just bear with me on that. CLIMB is an approach to teaching all of the reading skills at the same time. So yes, I'm a believer that children need to be taught an individual skill, but equally they need to be able to have that reading agility, that they can move from a vocabulary question to a sequencing and to a retrieval. So I'm just going to talk you through Climb for a moment. Climb was created by me and a pal. I've not asked her, can I say her name, so I won't say it here, but she did do a different one, and then we kind of it was the rebirth of hers. Climb is an analogy, or an acronym, not an analogy, to represent the reading skills, and they are comprehension, language, which is vocabulary, inference, deserving its own strand, meaning not of language but of text, and then books, and that's simply because I couldn't think of something with Clim. So books is on the end for a literal question, so don't worry too much about that. And the way they marry across is that 1B would be here with 1E, retrieval and inference. We've got vocabulary here, 1A, inference by itself, 1D here, sequencing, 1C, and books is basically a literal question, so the answer is basically right there. So what I'm suggesting is that I'm going to put some resources that I've made on the Lion King song lyrics, which follow the climb, and I just thought they might be helpful for homeschooling, for parents, for teachers, for anybody who wants to tap into some resource. I'll put the song lyrics, and then there's 5 questions. There is a small box at the top that I have basically mirrored the Key Stage 1 and 2 SATs, in that there's an information box. This one basically says, Can't Wait to Be King is sung by Simba, he's teasing Zazu, the part in brackets is sung by Zazu. And it's that really crucial part that's setting the scene that we want the children to learn, that if I read that, it's going to give me a chance of understanding what's underneath. And then you will see that there are 5 questions, a comprehension question, a language question, an inference question, a meanings question, and then the B one I either do as a literal question or I might throw in a grammar one. So for this one, I've actually done a spelling question. I've asked the children, I'm going to be the main event, can you explain both meanings of the word main? And then I've put the homophone main, M-A-N-E and M-A-I-N. So I hope they will be useful for you in your Key Stage 1 classes, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.